My name is Bela, and I was born in Holland but live since the last 15 years in India. And that had to do actually with me wanting to understand what meditation was all about. So when I came from Holland to India, I finished my primal rebirth therapist training, and then I went to a place in India where I heard something about meditation, and that really intrigued me very much. And I really wanted to learn it, so that's what I'm still doing. And in the meantime, also I travel the world and give courses and sessions. And my passion about this work is because for me, in order to sit in front of a group of people, I need to be as real as I can be. So actually, even though I facilitate the course, I'm still in the same boat, and I like that very much. There is an equality. It's not that I know better or that I have to teach something, so it is not that I teach something, I really share something. And in that, what other people share with me, I learn myself also to have more insights about human psyche, psychology, different kind of conditioning, also by traveling different kind of countries actually. I learn a lot because of that. As I said, I was trained a primal rebirth therapist, which means I facilitate most of the time courses that look at childhood conditioning. So how we create a blueprint of who we think we are in our adult life, which is formed in the first 7 years of our lives. And we see what what was happening in your childhood that is still preventing you to live the life that you want to live right now. That is my main source. However, as this course is mostly for Western conditioning, because it's Freudian based, it is rarely that I facilitate it like in China. So I facilitate other kind of courses. What I can say though is that I like very much to support people to find their essence. So it's not so much to learn to become somebody new or somebody better or needing to change something. On the contrary, what I try to do in all the work that I facilitate is to make people aware that they are perfect the way they are. The only thing is what they need to do is just to be themselves. So besides doing primal therapy, I use intimacy also to reach people, because intimate relationships is something that pulls people a lot. People like to be in relationships and they have a lot of questions about it. So it is for me a kind of a tool also to attract people to come back into the meditation, which is throughout all the courses that I facilitate is the main purpose. So for me it's really that the course is the tool, the bridge, and the meditation is the end result. So besides intimacy courses, what I do in China is women's work. I facilitated just now this course, which I really liked. It's something I do not too often, but it's really heartwarming to be only with women. There's really a difference to share just women energy or just to be with men. Intimacy is a mix, which I like too. It's really to work both the polarities. I give breathing courses, and yeah, it's mostly focused on conditioning. That's what I can say. To undo yourself from conditioning and to move into meditation. That's the main focus. Whatever the tool is that I then use. Yeah, and conditioning. So it is two things. I really look at the conditioning, which also for me is a learning. So for me to come in China and being a European myself, I'm really learning just to sit with people, to listen, to hear the stories, to understand what is common, and from there also for me then the challenging part is to really adapt that and to see if I can create an opening for people then also to integrate it in their conditioning. So for example, if I would do primal in China, not necessarily people will be able to integrate it in their day-to-day life, which for me not necessarily is something that is useful. It is what for me is very important is that people can bring it home and integrate that in their normal day-to-day life, and that it becomes something normal. So not I go for a course for 5 days and I do my best and then I go home and then I lose the whole thing again. Yeah? So for me it's very important that people can actually take the tools home and integrate it, which then is meditation. Yeah. My experience is a bit different. I mean, with the king I can't really say, but from a family setting, it is the Western conditioning has a tendency to be more individual. As for the Asian conditioning, actually the family system strongly supports also the ancestors, like the grandparents. So often what happens in an Asian culture is that grandparents start to take care of the children's children, which is not necessarily the case in Europe. So in Europe, for example, people have more the tendency to live separate. They, at a certain moment they marry or not, they start living together and then they start taking care of their own family, not necessarily having to take care of their ancestors. And that also has something to do with the social structure, because the elderly people can be taken care of by other people, not necessarily the family. So that, for example, is already a huge difference. Also in Asian conditioning, there's often joint families, that families really live together in one place. So that is a big difference. If you ask me, a tip is very difficult for me just to come up with a tip. Yeah, but for me the art is what I said before, is to see if somebody personally comes with a question, what can I provide to this person that it is still, that this person can still integrate it in their life situation. So if I come, for example, with quite a Western opinion or a Western idea, not necessarily people can integrate that in Asia. So I adapt that. Otherwise there is no point. You understand that? Yeah, then there is no point. So for me the art is then really to listen and say, okay, what is still possible, and that people can still live their authentic self. Because that is throughout everything, the meditation, and that people can start living their authentic self. That's the main focus. Whatever tool I then use to reach there. I feel that my quality is the strongest in the one-to-one work. So my groups don't have like large amount of people. Also because the work that I do is really therapy work. It's not energetic work. Like certain kind of groups, like the meditative therapies, for example, is an energy process. You can have more people. I like to work individually. So if I have a huge group, then it's difficult for me, also because then it takes a lot of time, and then if the days are limited, then I just don't have the time to do that. So I like an individual approach. Also, what I like about that is that I can really make it very clear that for everybody there is a certain, it's not a, how to say, it's not a set answer. Not every question. 3 people might have the same question, but they might get another answer. That's what I'm trying to say, yeah. So that is what I can say in my groups in general, yeah. I like an individual approach, and then also that people come more out. And what I like is also to work and to give an understanding that people know the answer really to their own question. It's not that I know. It's really what I try to do is to support the person to find their answer and to trust that they know the answer to their own questions. It's not that I know better for that person. On the contrary, I believe actually it's impossible that I would know better than you about yourself. Yeah. So I think that those are the main qualities, focus points if I work with people in courses. I give them back the trust that they know the answer to their own questions. I think what I do, if I can make that a general statement, is I start with asking the person, okay, why they are here. I would like to hear something about the background. And what I try to do in an individual session is exactly that the people start to find their own truth again, their own wisdom. I think one of the things in an individual session is to, often people have an idea there is such a thing as a problem, and there is not such a thing as a problem. So what I try to do is to make that a little bit broader, that people get more breathing space. So with me being out of the drama, you could say, I can give a bit a perspective often to the person where they are less entangled in whatever is playing them, and that creates an openness for people to have more breathing space and to relax more and say, okay, now I can see that actually instead of this I can do this, and then I feel better. Yeah, I can say that is more or less what I focus on in an individual session. Whether I use breathing as a tool, counseling, or I work on relationship issues, it's more or less that. First of all, what I want to say about Life Zen is that I feel it's almost like a family. If I come here, I know the people. It's warm, and I feel enormously taken care of. And so that they really try to give me also a good time, which is beautiful actually. So that's what I experience. And since the place is here, because the environment supports it very much so, the nature is beautiful, there is a lot of quietness, it's really separate. It is, so the resort as such supports that meditation space and to really detach or unplug from the busy world out there. So that I like very much. I like traveling and meeting new people. So I'm always intrigued by hearing new stories, getting to understand cultures, getting to understand conditioning. For me is very interesting. So I like that, And maybe even more so because it's Asian conditioning, and I'm interested there more. There's a click there. I feel there's something more heartful about Asian conditioning. So I like that. It's something that not necessarily I was born with, or that I was surrounded with in the place where I was born, let me put it this way. Not completely new, but I like to come every time with an open mind, not to say I know it, but it's easy for me to adapt somehow. I mean, I can say something more about it, but it's really my own experience too. I did over the last, because I started working with therapy in '96. Since that time I'm actually busy in one way or the other. In the beginning, of course, I wasn't facilitating, but helping and participating, things like facilitating, co-facilitating. Sometimes I still go back and I participate again if there's something that I feel that I want to look at. So it's really something that has my passion, or where I'm excited about. I like also to understand the human psyche, what motivates people, why are people the way they are, and what is the purpose of life also. It's really things that really interest me. But from my own understanding is that over the years practicing meditation, there is something that you can't learn by the book. There is something bigger or vaster than that, and that for me is meditation. And for me it is really where things started to fall into place, and their conditioning doesn't matter anymore. Actually, the moment we learn meditation, then you could say we are beyond the conditioning, so there we are very equal. And then it's how to say, it's another kind of understanding, another kind of healing that starts taking place, which gives a depth that you can't bring that in however beautiful you create or make your structures. It's just, you know it, there's something that a truth gets transferred and people resonate there. You don't even need to explain that or to say anything. And people know it. I had also in the last 5 days with the women, and I say, can you feel them? All of a sudden the energy becomes roof, and then everything becomes more whole or connected. So I'm very enthusiastic about bringing that quality. That is something that I don't do, actually. But I notice the more I can be in that place, it invites people also to move there. And of course, if you meditate with more people, it's easier or it gets stronger. Yeah. And that is universal. It's beyond conditioning. Everybody can integrate that. Everybody can bring that into their day-to-day life. And it doesn't need a university degree. You understand? Everybody can do it. Yeah. I think it is a stage where all of us, I think, at a certain moment move through. It starts happening at the moment you start acknowledging for yourself that you don't know. And of course, my mind also couldn't understand that really, that I thought, what do you mean not know? Of course you need to know. So I waited, because that is also something I learned. Some of the things you can't do, you just need to wait. And waiting for me was also creating the space that it could happen, which meant maintaining to do meditations. And then somehow it happened, and I don't know whether I did it or whether it came to me or something. But I can't really say that I know. It's interesting. The more I move into it, the less I know. But something is more understanding, I would say. Yeah. So if at all people say, I know it already, or this, I have done this, it's not true. It's not true. That often is mine. Mine says I know it. I've done dynamic meditation one time, I know it. Or I've done it already 10 times, I know it. And it's true, it's not a technique, but there is always something new to discover. Yeah. But maybe that's something personal, I don't know. But I'm very curious, so that I think, oh, is there more? Is there more? I think at a certain moment, it's not only doing 1 hour dynamic and 1 hour Kundalini. It becomes a life, a way of living, you could say. So then everything becomes more meditative. And I think that for me is more where I'm at. Like everything that I do, am I doing it totally? Am I doing it wholeheartedly? Am I doing it with love? Am I doing it with care? Or do I still think like, And I notice that although I do it with care and with love, there's always something that I can make more loving or more beautiful or more kind. So for me that is inexhaustible. Yeah. So in that sense for me it doesn't become boring. Yeah. Or that I say, well, I've done it now, yeah. So for me, meditation is more like, can I say totally yes? Can I be as total as possible in whatever I do? It gives really a big satisfaction because there's so many things to do. I mean, sometimes I think I could do it 3 other lifetimes because I don't have time enough to do all the things I would love to do. Yeah. So many things to discover. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people say I'm bored. I could do with a boring moment sometimes. You know? For me, it's something I don't. Yeah, it doesn't come. If it becomes your way of living, to be aware, because that is what it is. Also, dynamic meditation we use actually to first unload the mind and whatever feelings and emotions we have, and then we fall into the silence, and then to be aware, so it's also practicing this, to be detached a bit, that you can start to watch more. And that is a beautiful space to be in. That is, I mean, you can keep on watching. That's not a boring thing, or why do I have to do that? I mean, meditation brings one closer to oneself. So you become more truthful. So you know much better that what you are doing is really the thing that you want to do, supposed to do. If we can meditate, we have less how to say that in English? It's less likely that you start projecting on other people. And if you do, you're much more able to catch that earlier. Like, oh, okay, I'm projecting something on this person which actually says nothing about this person, it's all about me. Yeah. So there's less likely to be conflict, to have misunderstandings. Also, what happens in meditation is that one starts to take responsibility upon one's acts. So it's the relationship boss and employee becomes much more diffuse, because employees also, they take much more responsibility about the things that they do because they feel responsible. Less likely that a boss needs to boss around his people to say, now you need to do this and do this and do this and do this and do this all the time. And people are more enthusiastic to step in, to be more creative, to come themselves and to put themselves into the experience, feel more connected to what they are doing. Well, I can say I am the richest person in the world, that's what I can say, but that is it. And no, it's not completely true, because interestingly enough, when I dared to choose the meditation as my first priority, I had to leave everything what I knew was wealth or security behind in the West. In order for me to move to India, I had to leave everything behind, because I couldn't maintain both. It was just, I wasn't financially in a place where I could do that. So I had to make a choice. Of course, that shook everything that was there. And many people said, how can you do that? How can you stop working? How can you give up your job? How can you do that? Something in me was just, I just want to know what this is about, and then I have to. Interestingly enough, since that day, I've never been in shortage. Meaning, I have my bread and butter, I have a roof on top of my head, I can buy my clothes. Maybe not necessarily that I can buy Gucci or whatever, but also I know that if I would be able to buy Gucci, it wouldn't make me happier than I am. From being in that space of meditation, also my longings to be happy became very different. And I think that if I would have stayed where I would have been, I would have maybe been interested in having a Gucci bag. I mean, now if the Gucci bag is there, it's fine, but if I have another bag, it's also fine, because what it's about is that I have a bag that I can put my things in and that I can carry it around. So there is something in meditation that gives an inner richness, which is, I would say, that is something you can't buy. So you might manage in your life to become very rich, to have the best degrees, a good title, 3 cars, I don't know, a new marriage, name it, and the biggest house, another house. In the end, it is not something, it's not a richness that you can bring with you. And so I'm not saying like it doesn't go together, because I truly believe that it is both. It's inner richness, inner wealth and outer wealth. It really is both. I'm not saying in order to be inwardly rich, you need to be with a begging bowl and you can't have a Gucci watch if you want. Of course you can have it. If that is what you like, have it. But the need for that in order to be happy is gone. You might appreciate it. You might say, okay, I like that very much because I like it and I enjoy it. That's something else, but it is not that. Exactly, in order to be happy. Yeah, so I definitely think, yes, it makes you rich. No, but my choices, my priorities are different. Yeah. So if I were to spend XYZ amount of star hotel on the beach and have a good time, or I was to be with people sharing meditation, I would choose the second part. Yeah. But I can appreciate a good hotel. It's not that I mean, if it's given to me, why not? I can enjoy it. But my priorities are different, which maybe for other people is not. I don't know that. It's interesting. And what I can see is if people are content inside, they also are much more able to enjoy the wealth they have. As for people who are empty inside, they might have many things which other people don't have, but still they can't find that contentment. That is different. So you're less depending on it, but also an inner richness also helps you to enjoy much more outer richness, because you can really enjoy it. But it helps then also not to be depending on it.